Hey guys. So just waiting for Erin to jump on so we could start her interview. So Erin is a lung cancer survivor. I believe she is stage 4, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. And Erin is from Wisconsin. Not sure exactly what town or city in Wisconsin, but I know that she's from Wisconsin. Hey Diane, how are you, sweetheart? And so, yeah, so we did a test yesterday, so she knows what to do. I just hope she doesn't forget. I doubt it. So just waiting on her. So I met Erin actually. Oh God, where did I meet Erin? It wasn't the Hope Summit. Hey Barb, how are you, sweetheart? I can't even talk today. I met Erin. If it wasn't, there she goes. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Okay, Erin, you have to join, sweetheart. If you're watching, you got to join. You said it worked on your, I think it was iPad. Hey, Marianne, how are you, honey? So Erin is watching. She just has to now join. There she goes, I think. Yep. Nope. No. Okay. All right, come on, Erin. We did this yesterday. Oh, there she goes. All right. Got it. All right, she'll be joining us shortly. Oh, no, it's not doing it. Okay. Okay, Erin, if you could hear me, I can't add you. So did you switch device? Because whatever you used yesterday worked. Hi, Nancy. Okay, so it's not adding you, Erin, so you're going to have to switch device. We all know who this is, right? Okay, I can't, it's not letting me add her. Huh. Erin, try using a different, hey, Jose. Erin, try using a different device, sweetheart, because it's not letting me add. Okay, hold on. Okay, there it goes. Steve. Yeah, Steve. There it goes. There you go. Yay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know what happened, but I tried. I did go back and forth between my phone and my iPad, so whatever.
But you're on. That's what matters.
I'm on. Yay.
Yes, all right. Okay. Well, let's get this started, girlfriend.
Okay, sounds good. I'm in the basement. I'm hoping my kids and my dogs do not bother us. So they have strict instructions, but you know how they listen. Not.
I hear you. Well, that's why I have the headphones on. My dog likes to bark, so hopefully he doesn't bark all crazy. He keeps chasing my other cat, Leo, so they're fighting, hissing, barking.
Oh, geez.
These animals.
I know.
Okay, my viewers, well, thank you so much for watching and tuning in. So this is Erin. Erin is my lung cancer sister. Now, Erin, I couldn't remember, prior to you coming on, I was doing a little introduction. Where did we meet?
You actually are the first person, you and your husband met both of you at that event that Chris Draft held down in Rosemont. It
Oh,
was
that's
in the
right.
winter by the
Yes,
ice
yes,
skating. And
yes.
I didn't know who to look for. And I went to the bar and I saw that you were wearing a longevity bracelet. And
Uh-huh.
I was wearing one too. And so then I knew I was in the right place. And so I walked up to you and said, hi, and am I
Yeah.
in the right spot? And you and your husband were very welcoming and all of that. So,
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, yes. So I was introducing you like prior to you coming on, and I'm like, I didn't meet her at the Hope Summit, but I met her somewhere and I don't remember where. So there you go. There you
yeah,
go, guys.
that was it.
I met
That
her
was it.
at, yes. So that was about 4 years ago, right?
It was December of 2016.
Okay, so
So,
3 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so there you guys have it. That's how I met her. She is an amazing lung cancer survivor and a fighter and an advocate. She lives in Wisconsin. She could tell you where in Wisconsin because I'm not sure. And you are stage 4, am I correct?
Correct. Yes. Stage 4
Okay.
EGFR. Yep.
Yes, and that's her driven mutation. It's EGFR. So, guys, I give it to Erin. Listen to her amazing story and her fight and journey with lung cancer. Take it away, Erin.
Okay. Well, hi everyone out there. I know so many of you, and I wish I could give you all a big hug. Hi, Patty. I saw Patty just joined. Um,
Mhm.
I, get my inspiration from all of you that are out in our community, and there she is. Hi, and online. So part of my, story. We'll talk a little bit about that. But let's see. My lung cancer journey began in April of 2016, so 3 years ago, when I had a persistent cough that I just couldn't get rid of. And I went into the walk-in clinic a couple of times, kept getting diagnosed with walking pneumonia, was put on stronger and stronger antibiotics, and nothing was working. I went to see my primary care APNP, and she said to me, I'm concerned about this cough. She said, I think you might need a chest CT. And I said, okay. So she ordered one. And then I was waiting and waiting for the appointment to be scheduled and for it to be approved by my insurance. And I was at work one day on a Friday and I could not stop coughing. And I was holding meetings and I was on conference calls and I worked in mental health. And people were coming into my office and, they were really concerned. And I thought, I'm just going to call my APNP again because I don't know what to do. Nothing was working. So I called her and she said, go to the ER. So I actually, I don't like to overuse the ER. Okay. So I got in the car to drive home and I actually did a U-turn on the county highway on the way to my house because I just was coughing so hard. And I went to the ER. I live in Neenah, Wisconsin. And so I was in Oshkosh at the time, which is about an hour south of Green Bay. So I go to the ER and they run all the tests that they have to do to justify a CT. And I finally get the CT scan and the PA comes in and he says to me, you have a large mass on your right upper lobe of your lung. And he turned around and walked out the door. So I,
Oh,
I,
wow.
I was alone. So of course, what did I do? I Googled mass because I'm like, how big is a mass? Is this big? He said it was large. I didn't know how large, I didn't know what that meant. So I'm
Right.
Googling immediately and they couldn't do anything for me, really. I was at the ER for hours. They couldn't give me anything for the cough that I hadn't already been prescribed. They just told me to follow up with a pulmonologist the following week. And he went through an entire battery of questions that focused really on fungal pneumonia. And he felt that this was probably a case of fungal pneumonia, which is common in the Midwest. And, asked me a lot of questions about outdoors and what are my favorite activities and things like that. And I really never, ever thought that cancer, it was never on my radar. So that was 4th of July weekend. 4th of July was the following Monday. And so, it was an agonizing wait. On Tuesday, I started bothering the pulmonologist's office / stalking their secretaries because I was trying to get in. And they were so sweet and made room for me in the afternoon. So they got me in right
Oh,
away.
good.
I was scheduled for a bronchoscopy the very next day, and saw a doctor who was a pulmonologist at my local cancer center, or it's my community hospital, and they have general cancer care there. So we did the bronchoscopy the next day. I remember I was in recovery, and the nurse came in and actually said to me, gave a thumbs up and said, no cancer. He didn't see any cancer cells, and everyone was, happy. And it was still the furthest thing from my mind. He and I had talked extensively about fungal pneumonia. There's a river in Wisconsin that lots of young kids, younger than myself, go tubing on. I've done it, a long time ago, but it can be common to contract this fungal, these spores or whatever, mold from tubing down the river. So I think he asked me like 5 times if I had been tubing down this river. So he really thought it was this fungal pneumonia. So the day after the biopsy, I was at home and I get a call from the office and they say, doctor would like to see you. Can you come in? And I thought I was going in for a prescription for fungal pneumonia. And so I had no one with me. I was by myself. My husband was at work. The kids were home with a sitter. And I run in to get my prescription and leave. And I sit down, and it's about 5 o'clock. And the pulmonologist kind of pulls me a little closer to him in the chair. And he says, this is going to be a tough day for you, kiddo. You have lung cancer. And obviously, as all of us were, I was just stunned, just utterly stunned. And I thought I was in a nightmare. I felt this heat go from my feet to my head, and he kept talking. And I looked at him and I said, I'm not feeling so well. And so he helped me put my head down in between my knees, and then I passed out on the poor guy. So this is a funny part of the story. So I completely passed out, which I'm not a fainter. Okay. I don't ever faint ever. So I passed out. It's like the office is closed. Okay. There's no other patients around. It's like 5 at night, 5:30. When I opened my eyes, there must've been 5 or 6 nurses standing all around me, trying to get me to wake up. And they moved me to the exam table and then, put a cold washcloth on my forehead. I felt so bad for him. I think he said he never had a patient faint before. So that's a running joke whenever I run into him. But so then he, I'm just trying to write things down, and he's kind of rattling off statistics, and he's telling me that I'll be referred right away to an oncologist. So at that point, I feel like things moved pretty quickly. And that's where I'm really grateful for my local cancer center, because they really prioritized me. They got me in for a first opinion, a second opinion. They referred me to Green Bay Oncology so that I could talk with someone about the possibility of a clinical trial. It was all very quick and very overwhelming, of course. So I think the hardest part for me during that initial phase was I didn't know what a mutation was. That was it. If I would have had someone explain to me probably 5 times, this is what a genetic mutation is, because when I heard the word mutation, to me that sounded bad. And so they're yapping about these mutations, and I'm like, it's just going over my head. I have no clue what they're talking about. And we were in the office and we had to make a treatment decision. And my doctor said, we can start IV chemo on Monday, or we can wait for these results to come back. But if we start chemo, we can start it right away. And I said, okay, let's start chemo. So I was scheduled for IV chemo that Monday. Unbeknownst to my oncologist, the pulmonologist who did my bronchoscopy had sent the sample off right away for genomic testing. And thank God he did. So Monday, I'm supposed to be going for chemo. I get a call that we have a change in appointment time and I should come into the office. And doctor presents the report to me that says I'm EGFR positive. And so we start talking about Tarceva, erlotinib. It really did not click with me that this was a good thing, because I was still just a mess. I mean, I'm not sleeping, and, I'm on I don't know how much anti-anxiety medication at this point, and it was just a mess. And the nurse came in to do education with me about Tarceva. And she was so happy and smiley. And I was like, oh, this is a good thing. I have this mutation. So that's when it started clicking for me that this was a good thing. And that's where, and my husband was just my rock at this time. He was researching the heck out of everything. That's all he did was research. So he understood it. But he just had to like keep explaining it to me over and over because I was just in such disbelief. The other complication that arose during this time is I had fluid around my heart that was accumulating.
Ooh.
And it was causing a lot of problems. And so the week of actually the day after my bronchoscopy, I was admitted to the hospital for a pericardial window procedure where the cardiologist made, I understand it's a square shaped cut on the outer layer of the pericardium that surrounds the heart. And they removed a bunch of fluid. And then I had to remain in the hospital hooked up to this machine that vacuumed the fluid on a continuous basis until it stopped, so that I could be discharged. So I was in the hospital for like 4 more days after that. And of course, I couldn't have my PET scan to determine stage until the end of all of that. So when I did have my PET scan, that it was confirmed with the tumor in my right lung, as well as lesions in my sacrum, rib, spine, and that was it at that time. So stage 4 right away. So I think at that point, that's, like I alluded to a minute ago, that's really when my husband kind of went into high gear and he started researching and really educating himself and myself. I think it took me a couple of months, to be honest, before I could even like understand what he was talking about, because it was like a foreign language to me. I would kind of tune him out, to be honest, because I just didn't get it. But now that we've been down this road for 3 years, I feel, a lot more comfortable with all of that. I'm very grateful for my community cancer center, but one thing that I tell everyone who I run into is always get a second opinion and always educate yourself about what is going on. Do not leave it up to your team, because doctors are human. They will make mistakes. And mine did. And I have a wonderful doctor. I can't say enough things about him that are, to credit him. He's just great. But I actually had a friend at work whose mom had lung cancer also at the same time as mine. And so he and I would get together and we'd compare notes and we'd talk about her appointments and mine and what scans she had and mine. And he's the one that caught that I never had a brain MRI. And he explained to me, you have to have a brain MRI in addition to that PET scan. The PET scan will just show the brain as lit up because there's sugar in your brain. You need to have a separate MRI. And so that was one biggie that my doctor had missed. But luckily, we had the brain MRI and it was clear. So I was able to stay on Tarceva for a year and a half. And so I did great on that from, probably August of 2016 until November or December of 2017. And I don't know, Juanita, how much you want me to go on and on, but with the Tarceva, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with Tarceva because of the horrible rash and my hair fell all out and that was just awful. But anyway, so when...
You know what, Erin? It's because you were on Tarceva. There's some of our viewers, or they know someone that is on Tarceva or are thinking about going on Tarceva. Talk a little bit. Explain to them what Tarceva is, the side effects and everything. We know that that's for EGFR. That we do know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and Tarceva, I had progression-free survival on Tarceva for like 18 months. So, I think with all targeted therapies, of course, there's a risk of some unpleasant side effects. And I think a very common one with erlotinib or Tarceva is the rash. They call it a rash. It's worse than a rash. It's like really bad acne. I felt like I was a teenager again. And, you try to cover it and then that's worse for your skin and it's not fun. But of course you can take, doxycycline for that. So the hair, with the hair coming out, that's a more uncommon side effect. I actually learned through a lot of the people watching tonight that that can happen. My doctor had never had a patient on Tarceva had their hair fall out. So I went through the whole thing with getting wigs and everything, and it wasn't as bad as what in the beginning that I made it out to be. So, and it all grew back, as you can see. Yes, so it's just hair. Great. It's just hair. So I don't know, with any targeted therapy, I think that, you run the risk of having some not so fun side effects, but, oh, she's reaching for an animal. Oh, it's a baby. Hi,
Say
honey.
hi. She always makes her appearance on my videos. Say hi,
Oh,
look.
hi.
Dile
Hi.
hi.
Can I have a
Say
smile?
hi. She's looking at you.
Hi. How are
Smile.
you? I like
Smile.
your curly hair.
Say thank you. Gracias. Sonríe. Sonríe, mamás. Sonríe. Dile. She just look. Girl, she's like me mugging you.
How old is she, Juanita?
She's going to be 1 year old next week.
Oh,
Already. She
yeah.
grew so fast.
What a
Juno,
honey. Look at
stop
those
it.
cheeks.
I know. Look. Over here. She hears a dog, so she's looking for him.
Right.
Look, over here. Acá está, mira. Say hi. Wait.
Elisa says, hi, Princess Leia.
Yeah. Yeah, we call her
Cute.
Leia, Princess Leia for Star Wars.
Cute.
Okay. Dile bye. Say bye,
Bye-bye,
Erin.
honey. Bye-bye.
Say bye, Auntie Erin. Okay. She's looking at her mom. Okay, go with mom. Okay, there you go. She made her appearance. So I'm
Oh, what a
sorry. Go
sweetie.
ahead,
No,
love.
that's fine. So I would never discourage anyone from, the choice or the opportunity to go on a targeted therapy because of side effects.
Right.
That's what your cancer care team is there for, is to help you manage those.
Right.
And that's another lesson that I had to learn in the beginning. And my husband kind of encouraged me with that. He's like, look, when you have these weird side effects that are coming up, like the GI issues and the rash and the hair, you need to be calling, and, they can prescribe things for you. So I feel like that's something that people, really need to remember. As far as the next kind of stage and what happened with my journey, I was at home one night. It was, I think, November of 2017. And I was fine 1 minute, just absolutely fine. And the next minute, I couldn't see straight. I couldn't walk. I was vomiting, and I didn't know what was going on. I had this huge surge of pain that would sort of go from like my legs up to my brain. And it was very freaky. So that's the closest I think I ever came to an ambulance ride, was that night. Ended up going to the ER, and they just gave me some anti-nausea medication. And as luck would have it, I had a brain MRI scheduled already for that following Monday. This was on a weekend. So I have the brain MRI, and at my local cancer center, I'm very lucky because I usually get my results same day. I usually do my scans in the morning and then results in the afternoon, which is awesome. So the doctor came in and he said, you have about 24 brain lesions. So,
Goodness.
so yeah, about 24 is what they counted. And the biggest one was in my cerebellum. And so that was the one that was causing these problems with balance and coordination and my vision and all of that. So that was the most problematic. So this was probably the biggest turning point for me in my treatment journey, was to figure out what we were going to do about these 24 brain lesions. And we know that erlotinib does not cross the blood-brain barrier for everyone, and it certainly did not for me. So, it was really challenging at that time. And my oncologist, moving quickly as he usually does, brought in the radiologist immediately. And they took me over for a simulation, and they fitted me for the full head mask to start whole brain radiation the very next day. So that's what we were going to do, whole brain radiation the very next day. So we went back home, and my husband and I were just devastated. The last thing I wanted to do was whole brain radiation. And he was at work, and he called me and said, I think we need to slow this down. I think we need another opinion on this. And I just found out recently that he actually called Jill and Ivy. I didn't know he had done that. So he had called them or messaged them or whatever. And back the night that I met Juanita, which was at a dinner that Chris Draft threw for us, I met Dr. Bonomi, who's a lung cancer oncologist who's worked decades, his whole life. He's worked his whole career in lung cancer at Rush University Hospital. So when my husband called Jill and Ivy for advice, they said, you need to get in to see Dr. Bonomi. So I contacted his assistant, Mary Ellen Hand, his nurse, and they just prioritized me in their schedule. They got me in 2 days later. My local hospital
Okay.
got all the scans sent down to them, FedEx overnight, so that their tumor board could review it all. And it was just wonderful. I was just so fortunate. And so when I saw Dr. Bonomi and his team, they had a totally different recommendation. They said, you do not want to do whole brain radiation. We should switch you to Tagrisso. Tagrisso has better penetration through the blood-brain barrier. And we can either surgically remove the largest tumor in my cerebellum, or you could do gamma knife on it and you could radiate it. So, so their opinion was 180 degrees different from what I had just received from my doctor. So at that point, because Rush was, out of state for me and out of network for me, I pursued an opinion at Froedtert, the Medical College of Wisconsin, which is located in Milwaukee. And they concurred with Dr. Bonomi and his team that I should be on the Tagrisso and I should and they offered gamma knife, SBRT, stereotactic body radiation therapy, to the spots. So I started on Tagrisso. I was on it for 17 days before the surgery could be lined up. And I went in to Froedtert, and this was an outpatient procedure. And they're telling me this is brain surgery, but it's outpatient. So I was very confused as to how this was all going to go down. So I got there in the morning. The first thing they do is an MRI to see what we're really dealing with. And then a physicist maps everything out in terms of the gamma knife rays and all of that. So the doctor comes back in and says to me, and I will never forget this, most cancer patients are interesting in a bad way. You're interesting in a good way. 22 of your 24 brain lesions are gone. Gone.
Wow.
17 days on Tagrisso. Yep.
So you just made all my hair stand up. I just got chills all over my body.
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Wow. Amen. Praise
Amen.
God.
Amen. I actually think I hit him. Like I went, no way, and like hit him on the leg. And I had just met this guy. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Oh, it was so funny. So they're like, okay, our treatment plan is we're going to radiate the one. And then you got a stubborn one up here that we're going to zap, and then you're going to go home. And so that's what I did. I was back at work the next day, and they continued to monitor me every 3 months with brain MRIs. And from what we can tell in the cerebellum now is just scar tissue. It's dead necrosis, in there. And that's it. So I've done great on that, on the Tagrisso. So things were moving right along with the Tagrisso. And then in January of this year, I had some bad news. So my story just goes on, and I don't mean to talk for quite so long, but
It's okay.
it was discovered that I had, originally I had one tumor in my femur, and it was a big one. It was like 12 centimeters. It was large. This year, 3 additional tumors have shown up in my right femur, along with this pesky tumor in my sacrum. And I have 4 lymph nodes that are involved in my chest. So I underwent 2 different biopsies at Froedtert earlier this year. And one of them, I could have written the report from Foundation 1. I was hoping for the MET amplification, and that's what I have. In my right leg, I have the MET amplification. So I started on crizotinib for that, which is Xalkori with an X.
Yeah.
And so I am taking both Tagrisso and Xalkori at the same time for the MET amplification and for whatever's in my sacrum. At the same time, I had a brain MRI, and I have 17 new brain lesions. In the middle of all of this, because these new tumors had been found, these new lesions were found, our teams, my 2 teams at Froedtert and my local hospital, had decided, let's try IV chemo. So I stopped the Tagrisso because the chemo was paired with Keytruda, and you really can't be on targeted therapy and an immunotherapy at the same time because they're too big of a risk of pneumonitis. So I did only 3 rounds of chemo, and then I was scanned, and that's when a lot of these new tumors popped up in addition to the 17 in my brain. So at that time, it was very clear I needed to go right back on the Tagrisso. I couldn't afford to be off the Tagrisso. So we stopped IV chemo. I went back on Tagrisso. And then I have this MET amplification, like I mentioned, and I'm taking the crizotinib for that. So that's kind of where I'm at. In addition to, kind of all of this new progression this year, the latest thing I'm dealing with is fluid on my left lung. It just keeps accumulating. So last week, I had a Plerex catheter installed, and it stays on me. I can show it to you. There it is.
Okay.
You can kind of see the outline of it. These are the tubes right here.
Right.
So I have a visiting nurse that comes twice a week to drain it. But I am accumulating about, I'll compare it to alcohol, about a bottle and a half of wine every 2 days is accumulating around my left lung. That's how much fluid.
Goodness.
It's about 1,000 cc's every 2 days.
Do they know where's it coming from?
We don't know. We're not sure. I mean, I know, first of all, that Tagrisso can cause fluid around the lung, but I've never had this problem with Tagrisso before. Never. And I know that as a lung cancer patient, this can happen. But we haven't pinpointed anything more specifically other than that. So we'll have to see what happens with my next scan. I'll have one in a few weeks and see if there's something new going on. But it was just the weirdest thing. And I've kind of been watching, and I think Janice Tomachek, if that's how you say her last name, she just started chemo again this week, but she had fluid problems last week like crazy, and we were kind of messaging back and forth. But my symptom was shortness of breath. My symptom was just extreme shortness of breath. So that's what led to chest x-rays to diagnose the fluid. And then I had an echocardiogram to make sure that I didn't have the heart fluid again that I had that problem with a couple years ago. So now I'm draining this every 2 days, which is a bummer, but got to do it. So
where are the lesions on your brain? Are they still there, or are they gone?
Well, I'll find out in about 3 weeks. I have a follow-up brain MRI scheduled. Yep. Okay. So I'll find out because the last one I just had, 2 months ago, that's when they discovered the new lesions. I feel fine. I'm not having headaches or any kind of that weird dizziness or anything. So I'm assuming that Tagrisso's taking care of it. I'm hoping that Tagrisso's taking care of it. I think for patients with lung cancer, some of us, it'll show up in my brain at some point. So when the doctor told me, I was like, I'm not surprised. I wasn't that upset about it, to be honest. It just pointed us in the right direction that I needed to go right back on the Tagrisso. So I'm really hoping the Tagrisso's taking care of them. So the other thing that I really want to mention to everyone, and I brought this up at Hope Summit the last couple of years, is that when I was scanned with a PET scan, I didn't know that the PET scan only goes to your mid-thigh. So I actually found that out when I was getting another opinion down at Fredert at the academic hospital that I've been mentioning. And I sort of couldn't believe my eyes when I saw the scan, and it showed my torso and then, down to my middle of my leg. So at that time, a real unusual thing happened. This was a year and a half ago. I was having horrible pain in my right heel. Well, as it turned out, I had plantar fasciitis, but of course I'm convinced like I have cancer in my heel, right? So I went to my doctor and I said, I have to have a full body PET scan. And he's like, well, we don't really do full body PET scans anymore. It's like frowned upon by the radiologists because reading them is more difficult. And I'm like, what? This doesn't even make sense to me. So the pain in my right heel was so bad that I was a bitch. And I was like, I need a full body PET scan. I need to figure out what's going on in my heel. I think I have cancer there. And, we need to figure this out. So my doctor ordered a full body PET scan. Of course, my insurance denied it. He had to appeal it and everything else. So I have this full body PET scan, and lo and behold, that's when we find this massive tumor in my right femur. That is how we found it.
Wow.
I had no pain. I had no symptoms, nothing. And so they find this giant tumor. It was either 9 or 12 centimeters. It was huge. And I ended up having
Wow, that's
radiation on it.
huge. Mm-hmm.
And I said to my doctor, because I had learned from Julie from Minnesota, this had happened to her right before, they found a tumor in her femur up at Mayo right before I found mine. And I said to my doctor, why is this that there's no full body PET scan? And how common is it to have a tumor in your femur? And he said to me that cancer cells are attracted to the part of your body that has the highest amount of bone marrow. And the femur is the largest bone in your body, and it has the highest density of bone marrow. And so I said, again, so then why would you not have this be part of a regular scan?
Exactly.
So that's how I found it, or that's how we found it, is I just would not stop, and I demanded that full body PET scan.
Good for you.
So now when they scan me, they know they have to scan down to my knee because, we don't know what's going on in there.
Right. Good for you.
So I ended up having radiation to that. And then, like I said, I have these new mets that have popped up this year, but with the biopsy that I had, I was able to determine I have the met amplification and go on crizotinib for that. So that's kind of the long-winded version.
Your journey. But look,
my journey.
Here.
I'm still here.
Your journey, you're still here. You're fighting it. You're not giving up. And that's what I love about you. You keep going. I remember I was with Erin. We're walking. Where the hell were we at?
DC?
Was it DC?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God, my short-term memory or whatever memory is awful. So we're walking, and it was we went to the Hope Summit, and that Thursday was the gala night, and so Erin found out that she's going to the gala and she didn't have a dress. So here we are walking to downtown Georgetown. I was dying. I was like, oh my God, I'm going back. I'm taking a taxi. I was tired. And I remember we stopped in the corner by a stoplight, and she got a call from your doctor.
Yep.
And told her you're gonna go back on Tagrisso and some
Yep.
other stuff. And
and
I remember her talking about that tumor in her down femur, and I think Jill's like, man, what is it with your femur? You keep getting tumors there. I'll never forget that. It was, and I could see the look on your face. You were worried, but she was trying to hide it, and she did a good job in hiding it.
Because I wanted to go shopping.
Yes, because she wanted to go shopping. She needed a dress. But I could see the look on her face. I could see the worriness, the fear and everything. And I remember looking at Steve and Steve looking at me, and I was just like in disbelief. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell her anything, because to me, I'm like, I don't want to bring it up as a reminder. You just got off the phone. So I'm like, I'm going to give her space. Let's go find a dress, give her time to let that sink in. But God, I remember we're walking to go look for your dress. I don't know why we all went. I think Steve was looking for pants and you were looking for a dress. Yeah. I know that you were ahead. I was like in the middle and your sister was in the back. And I remember your sister crying.
Yep.
And I just didn't want to say nothing. I remember just being in the middle, and I think Steve had passed me because he walks fast. And I just remember walking, I was not by myself, but by myself. And just as I'm walking, I remember just praying and just praying. And so I was just praying in my head. And I was trying not to cry, because Steve's like, you better not start crying here. I'm like, I'm not going to cry. Shut up. Leave me alone. But I didn't cry. But I remember just walking and everyone's talking, and I was just I couldn't close my eyes because I don't want to fall and trip. But I remember just like really like in tune with myself and just praying as we're walking, just praying.
Yeah.
And then, and when I hear, news like that, I mean, I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in miracles. I really do, because I'm one of them. I just believe you just got to really, really trust, and you got to praise them. Even when you get bad news, just praise them. I truly believe in that. But at the same time, I'm human. I'm one that like, why? I get upset. Why, damn it? Why? And then I start questioning him. And
right.
And then so then I have to stop, because then I'm gonna get angry, and then I get in my shitty mood, and I get all depressed, and then I'm like done for the whole day. And you know, and I have a lot of those moments. Trust me. Today was one of them. Today I was in a really shitty mood all day. I think even my members noticed it, but you know, I have to. Yeah, but I just have to keep pushing forward, no matter what. I have
Right.
to keep pushing forward, because no one else really understands what we go through. We
Right.
That day when you got the call, we all could relate, because we're
Mm-hmm.
all going through it. Now
Right.
Steve couldn't, but he could relate as a caregiver. Your
Right.
sister really couldn't, you know, because she's not going through it.
Mm-hmm.
We all, our group, walking to go
Right.
shopping, we all could relate. So everyone
Mm-hmm.
is talking, doing, but I remember just praying and just praying. And then, you know, to have you come on, and you look great, and, you know, and talking and sharing your story, I'm like, you know, I know God could do it. I just know he can. I haven't, I guess, as a Christian woman of God, I guess I haven't figured out exactly. I mean, I guess I have, and I tell people, but I guess it's up to that individual to actually
Mm-hmm.
listen to me and do it. And a lot of people, they don't. I mean, you know, I could tell them over and over again, this is what you got to do. So I just hope that me, as an example, that I'm, you know,
Mm-hmm.
here, because you know, I'm not supposed to be here. None of us are supposed to be here,
Right.
but we're
Right.
all here. An example of like, okay, well, let me give God a try, because if Juanita's
Mm-hmm.
still here and Erin is doing good and people are praying for her and everyone else, let me give God a try. Or you know
Yeah.
what? Let me start going to church. Or you know what? Let me start praying the way Juanita prays. Or you know what? Let me start reading the Bible, and then they'll get an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all humans. I still go through it. Why? It's
Right.
all,
Right.
I swear, I don't know how many times I ask God why. I mean, I think he gets tired of me. He just looks down on me and like, girl, will you stop already? Because my thing is always why, you know.
Right. Right.
But you know, but yeah, I
Well, and
just, like I
Juanita,
said,
thank you for that. I had no idea that you were praying for me
oh
in
yeah,
that
yeah,
moment, and
yes,
that's
yes.
that means so much to me. Thank you.
Oh, oh, you're
I've thought back
welcome. I
about that
mean,
moment a lot, and I'm even with this, crappy cancer diagnosis, I still believe for the most part that everything happens for a reason. And I think back to that day we were walking to Georgetown. Who else has
mhm.
an opportunity to get cancer news that maybe is bad when they're surrounded by a group
Yes,
of
yes, yes,
strong fighters
yes,
who get it,
yes,
who just completely understand. It
yes,
was like this phone call was meant to happen at this moment.
yes,
And
yes, it was.
it was meant to happen to support my sister too, because like you said, she was very
Mhm.
upset. She was crying.
Yeah,
And we're all trying to tell her, it'll be okay. She gets to go back on the
yeah,
Tagrisso. This is a good thing. So in the
yeah,
end, I'm like, that was meant to be. It was really kind of a
right.
cool thing that it happened
Yeah,
that way. But
and the girls, I heard the girls talking about that, and I was agreeing with them. I go, yes, it was perfect timing, and I truly believe that it's God's perfect timing. For us, it might not be. We might think like, no, 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 but his perfect timing is perfect. And then when you go back, you're like, wow, it was a perfect timing.
uh-huh.
He's never wrong. I mean, he knows what he's doing. My goodness, he's the
Right.
creator of heaven and earth, all of
Right.
us. But yeah, I truly do believe that. But us as humans, I mean, yeah, we're gonna, you know, worry. We're gonna have some little bit of doubt. You know, our faith might drop. I mean, we're humans, but like he
Mm-hmm.
says, as long as our faith is small as a mustard seed, that's all we need to move mountains. As long as you
Right.
have that faith, you can move that mountain right out of your body. I tell people that all the time, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand it. And but yeah, that was a perfect timing, and we had a great time
We
at the
did. Oh my
gala. We had a
gosh.
great time. Yeah,
Yeah. It
yeah,
was
it was so much
fabulous.
fun.
It was all uphill
Yes, it
from
was
there.
so much
So,
fun. Yeah. And
oh,
yeah, and so I'm gonna keep praying for you, Erin, and you keep with that faith, and you pray, girl. When you pray with authority. And I tell
yeah.
people that they're
Yes,
like, "What do you
ma'am.
mean?" I go, "Yes, you have to pray with authority. You have to pray. Um, it's like my pastor explained to me. You're angry, so you're praying like with anger, but it's with with authority. So you're not angry at God, but you're just angry at the cancer. So when you pray to God with authority, and you're declaring and you're saying, this cancer is leaving my body. And you have to like be mad about it and angry and just go full force. And I was like, oh, let me give that a try. That's how I pray now. Well, sometimes I'll pray. I do. Cry. I do. I'm human. But
Yep.
there's times that I pray with like, oh, wait, hold up. Wait, hold up. What? Oh, no, no, no. Not today, Satan. And then I get into
Not
my
today,
prayer with
Steve.
authority. Not today, Satan. Not today. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But, we all have those moments where we pray and
Right.
you're crying. And today was one of those moments for me where usually I was just like, I think I was complaining, just crying and complaining. And then all of a sudden I just felt like, and I was like, okay, that was God telling me, girl, you need to chill. I got this. You need to chill. You need to stop.
Yeah.
That was him
Yeah.
telling me I need to stop. Because I was like a 5-year-old throwing a temper tantrum. That's what I was. But, but
Fantastic.
yeah. Yeah. So any of my viewers out there, do you guys have any questions for Erin? Erin, can you see the comments or no?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if you guys have any questions, shoot them away and she'll answer them for you. But meanwhile, you guys are thinking of a question. So Erin, I know you have lots of hope. I know we're talking about cancer, but I'm still sitting here laughing. Juanita, you're making, oh, yeah, I do make people laugh. I'm crazy like that. So while you guys are thinking of questions, so we all have hope, and there is hope. And I ask, every person I've interviewed to share with the audience what gives you hope.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say probably my biggest hope, a source of hope and inspiration comes from the people watching tonight. I'm just so blessed to not have cancer, but to have found the community of lung cancer survivors that exists out in the world. It's incredible. It's truly incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And, it probably for me started with longevity when I was paired with Nicole Russell. She was my lifeline support initially, and she's the one that told me about the Facebook groups and so forth. And from there, I have been able to attend 3 Hope Summits in DC. Oh, there's Janice.
Awesome.
Hi, Janice. Mentioned you earlier, Janice, wondering how you're doing with your chemo. Anyway, I had the opportunity a year ago to go as part of the Lung Cancer Alliance to meet with senators and representatives to talk about lung cancer funding. I was able to,
all right.
Yes, absolutely. I was able to attend a Shine a Light event that I helped to coordinate in conjunction with my local cancer center. They had only ever promoted the Great American Smokeout in the past. And so this last November, we were able to put on a Shine a Light event that was very meaningful. It was just awesome. So I really tried my hardest to incorporate advocacy and that self-education along with it. And even though my story is sort of long and convoluted, I think there are some messages there about second opinions and the value of that, asking questions, not just relying on everything your doctor says, and really doing your research. And so I get that, first and foremost from all of you. I cannot tell you how many times I have posted something to one of our groups asking a question. Sometimes it's as I'm leaving a doctor's appointment because something doesn't sound right to me or what have you. And the generosity of everyone in replying with their experiences or what helped them, those are suggestions that I have taken and used, and it's been amazing. So that's probably where I get my biggest source of inspiration from, are other survivors.
Awesome.
And then I am wearing my 3 kids right here by my heart. I've got Caden, Reese, and Liam. Now these are angel wings. They're not angels, okay? They're 3 boys. They can be angelic at times. Let's just say that, but it's a very small percentage. No, I'm just kidding. They're very active. They're 5, 9, and 11. My oldest just turned 11 today. Happy birthday, Caden. I know he just wrote that he was watching.
Happy birthday.
So I get, obviously a lot of inspiration from them. And my
Awesome.
kids, they become little advocates themselves. They know so much about lung
Good.
cancer, which, makes me sad, but it's the reality of our situation.
Yeah.
And they are with me. Last night, we just did an event through Live Strong that we participated in. We got to go to a baseball game, and we've done cancer walks and the fundraising, all of that stuff. And they're right there with me. So,
Yeah.
um,
Awesome.
yeah. And my husband, he's just been a rock through all of this. So, which is a hard thing to
That's
be
awesome.
when you're
Yes.
caregiving with someone with a terminal illness. So,
Yes. Yes, I agree. And Marianne, I forget. Yes, Marianne, today is your birthday. Happy birthday, Marianne from Canada. Also, I did want to mention that Erin's life support, which buddy was Nicole. She is no longer with us. Unfortunately, we lost her about a little over a year ago.
mhm.
And so that was devastating. We get attached to these people we meet. And I mean, it's only for a season. It's not a lifetime. Some of us will have a lifetime of the family, but many, unfortunately, will pass, and that's why we
Mhm.
fight and we do the
Right.
advocacy, and everyone has their part in doing something for lung cancer advocacy. I do, besides traveling and doing other stuff in these videos. I try to educate people, as well as Erin and her family. Well, tomorrow is my daughter's birthday. She's going to be 18. Lord,
Oh,
Lord,
nice.
girl, I've been praying. I'm like, Lord Jesus, don't let her do nothing stupid tomorrow. I'm gonna get a phone call. Oh no. So she's mad at me, but she's okay. She'll be all right. She'll get over it. Um, and what else? I was gonna say something and I can't even remember. But anyway, so I guess, there were some little comments here. I don't know. Annie said that she has 3 boys too. Well, I have 2 boys and 5 girls. I mean, 2 boys and 3 girls. I'm sorry, 5 kids total.
Oh, my good
And my
Lord.
boys, my boys are the easiest ones. Those girls were something else. I ain't even gonna lie. Those girls are something else. Oh Lord Jesus. Diane, yeah, Diane from Wisconsin. Her husband has lung cancer. He's ALK positive like me. She says, "Thank you for your advocacy. You are welcome." Annie goes, "You ladies are both amazing. Thank you, Annie. I appreciate it." Janice says she starts her chemo tomorrow.
Okay.
She's gonna start tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
Jennifer
Good
says
luck,
she loves
Janice.
you. Yes, yes. Alyssa said no questions, just kisses. Right back
Uh,
at you. And I think that's it. Oh, and then they said, "Happy birthday to my daughter." Oh, thank you, Alyssa. Well, tomorrow morning you're gonna see pictures and a long these I have a habit of doing that. Janice says she has 3 boys and 1 girl. I wish I had 0 girls and all boys, to be honest. I love my daughters, don't get me wrong. But oh Lord Jesus. Woo, those girls are something else. That 18-year-old that's gonna be tomorrow. Ooh, the
uh,
22-year-old moved out. Thank God. This house is at peace. I love you, Azalea, but you drove me crazy. So there's no questions out there. Thank you so much, Erin. I
Thank
truly
you,
appreciate it.
Juanita.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you that you did it, on your son's birthday. Tell him I said thank you and
Yes,
give him a hug for
I
me.
will.
And
I
yes,
will.
and thank you so much, and for sharing your story. It's so inspirational, and know that your story will help someone out there. And you can see through the comments when we're done. You help some people. So guys, share this video, tag people that if you know of anyone. Also, I will put it on my YouTube channel. So if you know someone or people that don't have Facebook and want to know more about, lung cancer, or they're going through it and they don't have Facebook, send them to my YouTube channel. They're all on there. So,
Awesome.
okay. Well,
Thanks for
thanks
doing this,
again.
Juanita. This is really cool.
Oh,
I really
no,
appreciate the
you're
invite.
welcome. You're welcome. Oh, yes.
Mwah.
And thank you for doing it. I love you. Good
Love you
night.
too.
And
Good
I hope
night.
to see you soon. Okay, sweetheart.
Okay, sounds
Okay,
good. Thank
bye
you. Thanks,
guys. Thank you
everybody.
for watching.
Bye.
Bye.